Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater. And remember back in 2012 when The Hunger Games starring Jennifer Lawrence hit theaters right around the end of March that year, and it just kind of blew everything up when it came to young adult stuff? I mean, you thought Twilight was big. Hunger Games, I think, kind of kicked it out of the water. But the problem with Hunger Games is that it came and it went. Twilight came and it went. The core demographic that those books were written for and those movies were made for grew up. And that's one of the reasons why we're starting to see some of those kind of young adult authors go back to the well, if you will, and start to kind of re-explore those worlds because they need to find themselves being relevant again. This is actually why I think that J.K. Rowling wants to do the Fantastic Beasts series, simply because she wants to find a way to continue the Harry Potter world while having it not necessarily be based around Harry Potter, and the results have been ultimately mixed thus far. But Suzanne Collins, who wrote the Hunger Games trilogy, she is actually back with a prequel novel, which is just a weird thing for me, because it's called A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And this takes place 64 years before the events of the first Hunger Games. And it's all around Coriolanus or Cornelius, whatever his name is, President Snow. Right? You know, the brutal dictator, the murderous tyrant, well, I mean, I think by the end of the movies, we're kind of meant to sympathize a little bit, given like the situation he finds himself in. There's a little bit of that, a hint of that is what I took away from it, at least. Some kind of understanding between him and Katniss, but whatever, man. You know, but this still, he did all these terrible, horrible things in the books, and now we're meant to look at him as being a protagonist that ultimately goes down the path of the dark to become the bad guy that we know. Is it just me, or does this kind of feel like the prequel is all over again? It just feels like Anakin's journey. It's like, oh, but kind of opposite, because in this particular case, Snow is born into privilege. He was born in the lap of luxury. In the story itself, there's a snippet, there's an excerpt that's out there now, and it sets up the 10th annual Hunger Games, and he is a mentor, like Haymitch from the books, and, well, the movie as well. And so he is going to now be, you know, I think he's mentoring the girl from District 12, which might actually be one of the reasons why there's a disdain that he has for District 12 in the movies, because he got stuck with this and it might screw with him down the road or something. I don't know. He's probably going to like fall in love with the girl, and there's going to be a big problem with there's the tropes abound. The series is full of tropes. Right, but they're definitely trying to keep in line, I would argue, with the canon from the films, because this is what Snow looks like as a boy. Well, as a boy, but a young man, right? 64 years before we met him in the movies. And obviously this looks identical to Donald Sutherland. This is pretty much just Donald Sutherland. So they kept it in regards to the visual imagery. And I have to say, I like that quite a bit. I do like that quite a bit. But the story itself, it kind of feels just unnecessary. It just feels insanely unnecessary. Why does Suzanne Collins feel the need to go back to the well on this one? Why go back and retell the story? Why go back and try to make Snow a good guy? It just doesn't make any kind of sense to me as a fan of the films and a mild enjoyer of the books. I thought they were kind of simply written. I would prefer her to go back and give us, if she's going to reboot or redo anything, could she go back and like redo Clarissa Explains It All, which was a show she wrote for back in the early 90s? Like, that would be something that I would gladly watch, right? Give us, you know, Melissa Joan Hart has a daughter named Clarissa or whatever, and then give us that. I'd be down for that. But this feels kind of dumb to me. It just feels like it's reaching for relevancy. And we've seen this with, Stephanie Meyer did this with Twilight when she wrote the book from, she was going to, I don't remember if she released it. No, she didn't release it, but she had started to write the book, the reimagining of the first book, or a retelling of the first book, but from Edward's perspective. And part of it leaked online, and it was so horrendously destroyed that she ended up just scrapping the project entirely, which, hey, congrats to Twilight fans. You were spared another crappy entry into your series. But E.L. James, ever the plagiarist, essentially, she twisted it enough to be able to get around those pesky copyright laws, but she actually wrote another version of 50 Shades of Grey from the perspective of Christian Grey. I think the book is just called like Grey or Christian or something. It doesn't really matter. The whole point is that she basically just once again ripped off a Stephanie Meyer idea. But it makes sense when you think about the cultural relevancy and the paycheck. This to me feels nothing more than just a simple cash grab. And it's going to be turned into a movie that's going to be coming out sometime, I think, in the next couple years. Is anyone going to want to see this as a movie? Are you going to want to go see a President Snow prequel story? Do you care enough about Donald Sutherland's performance in the movie to see how he became so dark, so twisted, so evil? I kind of think at this point, it would just be better to go back and watch Anakin's journey. You don't have to wait a couple years. You can go watch it right now, all on Disney Plus, and the majority of you watching probably already have Disney Plus. What annoys me the most about this is that when we talk about how bankrupt, creatively bankrupt Hollywood is, or Hollywood has become. I mean, this movie is going to happen. The book was already optioned, so it's going to happen. But when we talk about how bankrupt the situation is, how bankrupt the whole industry is, and how it's nothing but sequels and remakes and redos and revivals and rehashes, and I'm not necessarily against all of that. I enjoy a bit of them here and there, but I would still prefer something original. I would still prefer something unique. I would still prefer something more fun than what we're getting nowadays. And this is just another example of that. It's Suzanne Collins probably couldn't get any other books done, or if she has released any other books in the subsequent years since the trilogy came out, they haven't done very well. You know, I mean, J.K. Rowling, like, you know, again, she wrote under a pen name, released a few other books that did okay, but still post Harry Potter, there was just nothing there. Like, she did one, The Casual Vacancy. That was a very terrible book, and it even made a terrible miniseries on HBO. And then all of a sudden she's back to Harry Potter. Because we're at that point now where it's like, you look at Marvel movies, you know, Anthony Mackie says there are no movie stars anymore, but there's superheroes. Like the Falcon is popular. The characters are popular. People want to see those characters play out longer in movies and things like that. So you can see why a lot of these people are going back to the well on that, because it's what some people out there want. And I mean, is it just like, are they trying to get into different marketplaces where the films weren't previously at? So they figure if they go and they can create a new fan base, those new fans will then spend money on the other stuff in order to then further line their pockets. I mean, I have no idea, but to me, it just comes across as being just creatively bankrupt. And it's like, come on, guys, you know, come on. Do I care about a President Snow prequel story? No. Will I go see the movie? Probably, because it's what I do and I kind of have to, right? But if it's just one of those things where it's like, I'll begrudgingly go hoping to be entertained. I'm not saying I won't be. It all depends on who's going to be the actor and what the story ultimately ends up being. I don't know yet, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm just kind of like, oh my God, this is just why, you know, why do the executives, are they just so, do they just not have any care that they're just pushing these things through? I don't know. I just think that's kind of a dumb idea. Like, nobody wants to see President Snow as a good guy. He was a good villain. Leave him there, right? But then some people could argue, but look at Vader. Vader was a great villain, and they went back and they made him a good guy until he wasn't a good guy. But like, that arc was something that came in line with the family. The family lineage made sense there. Katniss and Snow don't have that kind of connection, right? Like, Katniss is the girl on fire or the girl with beer-flavored nipples, depending on who you speak with. So that was, you know, she had more of a connection to Gale and Peeta because of the love triangle on that one than she had any connection to Snow. It just feels like such a pointless thing, but it's bound to make a lot of money because that's just the world we live in. Anyway, your thoughts on this, your opinions, let me know down in the comments below. I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. Please be sure to like the video, to hit that notification bell, subscribe as well. And yeah, I'll talk to you all later. Have a good one and peace out.